Hello, Awesome50 here, and today I've got an interesting one. I've got an interesting game to talk about, okay? You're going to have to hear me out for this one because nobody is going to take my word for this. Nobody. I can guarantee nobody's going to take my word for this. A game called Road 96, okay? This game was on the Xbox Game Pass. It was right at the very bottom, and people which just want to scroll through the games, and normally you'll find a game you want to play straight away before you get right to the bottom of the alphabet, okay? But this game, I went into this and I thought, oh my god, this is going to be a terrible game. This is going to be absolutely awful. What am I doing? But at the time, I had nothing else to play, and it was quick to install, so I thought, hey, let's just give it a shot. So I started playing it, okay, and it turns out it's surprisingly good. It's very good. I think I did 3 or 4 playthroughs just to get 100% per character. So I'm just going to quickly talk about the game and tell you why I think it's good. This game, it's not a massive game, okay? It's not a massive open world RPG game, but this does seem to be some kind of RPG game. Well, it's not really an RPG, but it is a game where you get to make choices. And your choices actually determine what's going to happen later on in the game, which is fantastic. So basically, the game's about, there's some political fighting going on. There's like some dictatorship kind of guy that wants to take control. And there's this woman that wants to rival him, and she'll treat people a lot better, sort of thing. You know, you can kind of relate this to real world things, but I don't want to go into that. And yeah, so basically you're moving a group of teenagers. You never know who you are, you never see your faces or anything like that, but you move these teenagers, and your job is to escape from the country, basically. Your job is to get past the border because you don't like where the country is going. So yeah, you pick these teens who you're going to move, right? And you're traveling to the border, and you always meet these obstacles. And by obstacles, it could be like just some mad stuff, like if you get caught by the police, you game over for that character. Then you start again with your next character, and then you do different things again. And then if you make one wrong mistake, game over for that character, okay? So it's hard for me to explain because I don't script these videos. I just kind of say them as I'm going. So for example, you'll move a teenager, and you can pick how close to the border you actually are, and then you can actually die in this game as well, believe it or not. If your hunger depletes, you kind of die. Or, well, maybe not so much die, but then you get caught because you're like on the floor. But then there's stuff like, there's this trucker guy. I mean, I don't want to give you any spoilers. It's hard for me to explain. But, like, for example, you could meet this one particular person, but really is some kind of, like, terrorist. But you don't know that. So you try and get the information out of him, and you still don't know. And then one point, you meet this policewoman, and she's like, she works for the police. She's after capturing all the teenagers and sending them back. But then again, she's a good guy at the same time. So later on, you can kind of convince her. This game is all about literally dialogue options, and I love this. It's an easy play. You know, it's very easy play. You just literally, the game's all about just making decisions. You just keep making decisions, and depending on your decisions, depends if you're going to pass the border or not. You can either pass the border, yay, you've won for that character, or sadly, you can die, or you get caught by the police and you get sent home to your parents, but it turns out you don't actually get sent to your parents, you get sent somewhere else. But I don't want to tell you that because it'll be a spoiler, because I want you lot to play the game. So yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic game, and it's definitely something I'd recommend. I'm going to give the game out, I'm going to say like, I think it's an indie game. Because it's an indie game, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Because I could be wrong, it might not be an indie game. But if it is, it's a frigging masterpiece. Because it's everything a gamer would actually want in that kind of genre where you're like making choices. For example, there's some messed up parts in the game where there's actually a serial killer out there who's begrudged, and he's trying to kill people as he goes. And if you run into this guy, you're screwed. You've got to make right decisions straight away, or your character is going to die. Like, literally die. You know, so it's kind of mad. It's really, really good game. Like I said, I'm trying not to give any spoilers out because this review is about wanting to get you lot to play the game. But it's something I'd 100% recommend. It's absolutely fantastic. But don't go into the game thinking it's going to be some kind of first-person shooter or anything like that, because it's really not. it's also not an open world exploration game. So again, I'm not really selling the game to you, but it is a good game. You should play it if you've got absolutely nothing to do and nothing to play or anything like that. Give this game a try. Granted, I don't think it's on the Game Pass anymore. I don't think it is. But you know how it is. They will probably put it back on the Game Pass at some point. So I don't need to forget my words. This game is definitely something worth playing. 100%. You need to play this game. Excuse me. You can complete this game quite easily. You could probably complete... I'm going to say the game is probably about 11 hours worth of gameplay. I'd say that's just my opinion. About 11 hours. Possibly more. It really is possibly more. For your first playthrough, I'm going to say it's probably not about 5 hours. Probably about... I'm just going to say it. I think about 5 hours per playthrough. But you're going to need to do different playthroughs because you need to, like, meet people along the way to get the 100% dialogue options, if that makes sense. So, for example, you can move one teenager, right? And you meet one person, and you've only seen so much of that person, and it goes up in like a percentage, okay? So, obviously, as you progress through the game, you might meet this person again. If you're a different teenager, if you manage to win the game with the last one, and then you will kind of unlock more dialogue options for them for you to get 100%, so you see everything about them. Okay, I'm not really explaining this well at all. I really need to start scripting these videos. Okay, it's a good game. It's not an open world game, not a shooter game, but it is worth playing. So just play the game. You should do. You've got absolutely nothing to lose playing that game. This is a game as well, though, where you have to give it time. You cannot just turn this game on and go, yeah, looks boring, looks shit. You can't do that. You can't do that with this game. You have to give it a try. It is good. If you're one of them gamers who's liked games like, for example, Fallout New Vegas, and you get to choose different dialogue options depending on which faction you're going to be in and stuff like that, this game has that element to it. This is pretty much what this game's all about. Not to mention, this game also has multiple endings, which is fantastic. We all love a game with multiple endings because that adds replay value, and every developer wants replay value. Now, I'm not too sure if this game is actually going to release a sequel. I have no idea, but I would be surprised if they didn't. Simply because it was a pretty decent game. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, nothing else really to mention regarding that game, though, to be fair, because I don't want to give any spoilers out. But I am going to start using mind-washing techniques here. Just try the game out, try the game out, try the game out. You might like it. If you don't like it, that's fair enough. You know, it might not be for you. This game isn't going to be for everybody. But again, what I've noticed is a lot of these indie games these days, they're kind of making their way up these days to being just as good as developed games by like Bethesda, for example, or Ubisoft. So a lot of indie games, I've got full respect for these because it's like following the underdogs. I like to help underdogs out. It's really fun. And with this Road 96 game, they give us quite a good picture with this. Quite a good game. But again, as I said, you don't run around shooting things. You just do chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter, just talking with different dialogues, with different outcomes, with different endings, plus depending on what decisions you make, depending on what outcome something might happen. Like, for example, you might like this character, and then all of a sudden you get to a point where this character trips up, and then you have to make that choice in a time limit. Do I help this person, or do I save my own ass? Well, depending on what you do there, this other person will probably die, and then that has a lasting effect for the rest of the playthrough because this person's died now. This game's just completely changed. Everything's changed now. So, yeah, it's a good game. Whatever you do changes everything. It's got multiple endings, multiple scenarios, multiple situations, and it's just a great game to play. Super fun. I enjoyed playing it. I think I completed it 3 times, something like that. Yeah, it were about 3 times I completed it. By completed, I don't mean per teen. I mean like you move a group of teenagers. I think it's 7. Yeah, it's 7 teenagers you have to help across the border, and I think I at least got 2 of them killed, 1 arrested, and I got the rest across the border. But that just happens, you know. For example, you go to one part where you decide to take a shortcut and you're jumping over mountains. if you take one slip, or if the game decides to do some kind of mathematics where it decides there's a 50% chance you're not going to make it, which I think it is, you can slip and die, or you can actually make it. So there we go. And you're on edge thinking, oh my god, please make it. And even if, like, it doesn't save like that, so it's not like, oh, I didn't do it, I'll just reload. You don't do that. It has a lasting effect. So you've got to be very, very careful what you do. Again, I'm Awesome50. I'm going to shoot off now. I'm extremely tired. Just finished work. Just jumped out of the shower. So, yeah, I'm ready to do some of my own gaming. But the minute I'm playing Amnesia Rebirth, I will probably do a review on this at some point. I also want to do a review on the game Soma as well. Yes, that will be a good review. But for now, Road 96, people. Road 96. Play it.